Hello everyone and thanks for tuning into Fast English. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Charlotte, and in this episode, we'll hear two conversations about controversial topics. In the first one, the benefits and drawbacks of both online learning and traditional classroom learning will be discussed. By listening to our podcasts, you'll be able to easily improve your listening and speaking skills. Before we dive into this episode, I want to remind you that your thoughts and opinions are invaluable for us. So please drop a comment and let us know which type of education you prefer. So let's get started and listen to the debate about online learning versus traditional classroom learning. Hey Liam. There's been a lot of discussion about the pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages of online learning and traditional classroom learning. Which one do you prefer?
Well, I strongly prefer traditional classroom learning. I believe the in-person interaction it provides is highly valuable. Being physically present in a classroom creates a structured learning environment, which helps students stay focused and engaged. What about you?
I see what you're saying, but I think online learning offers flexibility, but traditional learning doesn't. Students can learn at their own pace and on their own schedule, which is especially beneficial for those who have work or family commitments. It's also a great option for people who don't have access to specific courses locally.
Flexibility is certainly a strong point for online learning. But that same flexibility can also lead to challenges, particularly in terms of time management. Traditional classrooms provide a structured routine, which helps maintain discipline and keep students on track. Without a set schedule, it's easy for students to procrastinate or fall behind.
Hey Liam. Here's a new vocabulary: procrastinate. What does it mean?
Procrastination is the act of delaying or postponing tasks or decisions, often by choosing to do more pleasurable or less urgent activities instead.
Definitely. It usually involves putting off important or necessary actions despite knowing that doing so could have negative consequences. For example, a student has a major essay due in 2 weeks but spends time watching TV, browsing social media, or engaging in other non-essential activities instead of starting the essay.
Another example is when an employee delays working on a project, and spends time organizing their desk or chatting with colleagues. This will lead to a last-minute rush to complete the project.
Yeah, exactly. Now let's keep the conversation going about traditional learning versus online learning. The self-discipline required for online learning can actually be a positive point in the long run. It teaches students to manage their time effectively and take responsibility for their own learning. Plus, online platforms often offer tools like reminders and progress trackers to help students stay organized.
Those tools can be helpful, but they don't replace the value of direct interaction with instructors and peers. In a classroom setting, students can ask questions in real time and engage in spontaneous discussions. This face-to-face interaction makes a sense of community and collaboration, which is harder to achieve online.
I agree that social interaction is more immediate in traditional classrooms. However, online learning environments have evolved to facilitate communication through forums, video calls, and group projects. These platforms allow for meaningful interaction, even if it's not in person. In fact, some students who are shy or don't like to speak up in class might find it easier to participate online.
Online forums and video calls are great, but they don't fully replicate the energy and dynamics of a live classroom. The possibility of in-person discussions, the ability to read body language, and the spontaneous collaboration that happens in group work are all hard to mimic in an online setting. There's also something to be said about the experience of being on a physical campus, with access to libraries, labs, and other resources.
That's a fair point. Traditional classrooms definitely offer resources that are hard to duplicate online, especially for courses that require hands-on learning, like science labs or art classes. But online learning has its own set of resources. For example, many online courses provide access to a wide range of digital materials, including recorded lectures and ebooks. Students can revisit these materials as often as they need, which can enhance understanding.
Digital resources are indeed valuable, especially the ability to rewatch lectures and access materials at any time. But I think there's also a lot of value in having direct, face-to-face access to instructors.
Now, dear listeners, let's move on to the second topic of today's podcast, the advantages and disadvantages of immigration. This is a very exciting dialogue designed for you to take your English language skills to the next level. What do you think about this issue? Do you support or oppose immigration? Share your thoughts in the comments. Hey Liam, have you ever thought about immigration and its impacts? It's a pretty hot topic these days.
Definitely. I mean, there's so much to consider. On one hand, immigration can be really beneficial for a country, but there are also some downsides. What are your thoughts?
I agree. For starters, one major advantage is that immigration can boost the economy. Immigrants often take jobs that locals might not want, and they also start businesses that create new jobs.
Hey Charlotte. We got a new vocabulary. For starters, what does it mean?
For starter. For starter is used to say that something is the first in a list of things. For example, you can say, for starter, try this light exercise, or, I decided not to go to the theater because for starter, the tickets were so expensive.
What does it mean here?
Here it means first benefits of immigration is boosting the economy.
Now let's keep the conversation going about the impacts of immigration. Immigrants bring diverse skills and perspectives that can drive innovation. Many successful companies were started by immigrants, and they can contribute to a more dynamic workforce.
Exactly. And it's not just about the economy. Immigration can also enrich a country's culture. We get to experience new cuisines, traditions, and viewpoints. It makes societies more lively and diverse.
Absolutely. But on the flip side, some people argue that immigration can put a strain on public services like healthcare and education. If there are a lot of new immigrants in a short period, it can be challenging to accommodate everyone.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. There's also the issue of integration, to fit in. It can be difficult for immigrants to adapt, and sometimes cultural differences might lead to tension between different groups.
It is definitely a big challenge for immigrants to fit in. But I think it's also important to support policies that help immigrants adjust better, like language classes and community programs. It's about finding a balance.
For sure. And there's the issue of illegal immigration, too. It can create legal and social issues, and managing borders effectively is a huge task for any country.
Yes, and the debate over illegal immigration can be really heated. Some people argue for stricter controls, while others push for more gentle policies.
Definitely. There are also arguments about whether immigrants bring down wages or take jobs from native workers, though research often shows that the impact is not remarkable.
That's true. In many cases, immigrants increase the local workforce rather than compete with it directly. It's more about the overall economic benefits.
And let's not forget the humanitarian aspect. Many people migrate because of war, political issues, or extreme poverty. Providing refuge and support can be very important for human rights.
Absolutely. It's important to consider the reasons why people migrate and to approach the issue with empathy and understanding. It's not just about economics or politics but also about human dignity.
I totally agree. It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but discussing it and understanding different perspectives is a step in the right direction.
Definitely. The more we talk about these issues and educate ourselves, the better equipped we'll be to find solutions that work for everyone involved.
For sure. It's about balancing the benefits and challenges while keeping a compassionate perspective.
Well said. I think the key is to keep an open mind and work towards policies that address both the practical concerns and the humanitarian needs.
Okay, Liam, we had a great discussion today and heard various perspectives. Dear listeners, if you enjoyed this podcast, please like it and subscribe for our daily episodes. Your feedback is also very important to us, so don't forget to leave a comment. Thanks for listening, and see you in the next episode.